Hey, welcome to People, Places, and Good Things. I'm John McQuilkin. Thanks for tuning in. Today we are going to make Tom Kha Kai chicken coconut soup. It's a Thai recipe. I just love Thai food. It's one of my favorite foods on the planet. So I'm going to make it myself because there's not a Thai restaurant close by to where I'm at right now. I'm remodeling a house in the desert. So I'm kind of far away from my favorite Thai restaurant, so I just said, hey, let me make it myself. So I have most of the ingredients on hand. The one thing I don't have is lime leaves, kefir leaves, but you know what? That's okay. The person who taught me how to make Tom Kha Kai originally was a Thai native, and he just said back in Thailand, you just go with what you got, okay? So if you don't have one ingredient, maybe another ingredient will take its place. See, here's the thing when you're cooking. Don't be afraid to experiment, okay? Don't let being afraid of how it's going to turn out keep you from cooking or experimenting with cooking something that your heart desires. Because you might be surprised, it might come out wonderful, or it might come out really, really bad. But that's okay, because then you'll learn and you'll make it better the next time. So in a moment, I'm going to take the camera off the tripod and then start showing you a little bit more as I go along. But to start out, I just want to show you, I have a pot. I'm going to put in 4 cups of water in the pot. Then I'm going to chop up this boneless, skinless chicken breast. I'm going to boil it probably for about 20 minutes. I'm going to put some garlic in there. And you need lemongrass when you make Tom Kha Kai. I don't have fresh lemongrass, so I'm going to use a teaspoon of this powdered lemongrass. It works in a pinch. Then also, you need galanga root. Well, hey, out in the desert, there's no galanga root, okay? So I'm using powdered galanga root. I'll put in a teaspoon of this as well. Then I'm going to put in 2 cans of coconut milk. This particular brand is called Caribbean Joy. And let me tell you, when I cook with Caribbean Joy, it makes me feel like I'm in the Caribbean, or at least in Key West. Okay, what else? Okay, I got this Thai red curry paste. You don't need this, but it does make it taste a little bit better, okay? I hope you guys can see that. Thai red curry paste. About a teaspoon or more, depending on how hot you like it. And what else do I have? Oh, drizzle some of this chili oil in it. Or when you're done cooking, before you serve it, just drizzle some of this in the top of the pot. It just makes it taste so good. What else do I got? Oh, fish oil. This is a premium fish oil. You can buy cheap oil, or you can spend a couple fish sauce. You can buy the cheap fish sauce, or you can spend a couple extra bucks and get something a little bit better. So this one is a little bit better than the cheapest one available. Now, some people put in the fish sauce right away while the water's boiling. I do that sometimes, but it's best to just put it in right at the end, just before you serve it. But while it's still cooking, then add the fish sauce. Cook it for another 2 minutes perhaps, and you'll be done. So like I said, I'm gonna chop up the chicken and cook the chicken first for about 20 minutes. Then I'll put in the other ingredients to just lock in the flavor. And those ingredients only have to cook maybe 5 or 10 minutes, depending on how soft you want to get the vegetables. Now, a lot of times people don't put in a lot of vegetables in their Tom Kha Kai, but I'm a former vegetarian, so I like a lot of vegetables. So what I'm going to put in is, I should just take the camera off the tripod now, but I'm going to put in fresh green beans, couple handfuls. I'm going to chop up a bunch of cabbage to put in my Tom Kha Kai, because let me tell you, cabbage is so important for your digestive system. In fact, at least once a week, you should eat raw cabbage to keep your body working properly. Now this won't be raw cabbage, it'll be cooked cabbage, and it's really great if you're trying to lose weight as well. Like I don't know if you've ever done like the cabbage soup diet. I make that sometimes. It's delicious, and you can eat all the cabbage soup you want and the weight just falls off. but that's not what this show is about today. But do put in some cabbage in your Tom Kha Kai. And today I'm going to throw in some zucchini. Yeah, I said why not? I'm going to cut up some zucchini, throw it in there, and some celery sticks, okay? So I'm going to put some celery in there today too, a couple stalks, because celery is so good for you. Every single day I eat at least a couple of celery sticks. I've been adding them to everything. If I make an omelet, I cut up celery and put it in there. Try it, you're going to love it. And when I'm all done, I'm going to top it off with some cilantro. Oh, and the other thing, it's in the fridge, so I'm not going to bother getting it out, but I'm also going to chop up an onion. I'm going to do a whole yellow onion and chop it up. Sometimes you can do the green chive onions. That's good too. But today I wanted a lot of onion, so I'm just going to chop up a whole onion and put it in the soup. So that is all my ingredients. I'm going to get started. I'm not going to bore you as I'm chopping up the chicken because, hey, I'm not a chef, okay? I don't want you guys saying, oh, you know, he's chopping up that chicken wrong. Hey, I do it the way I do it. So I'm going to chop up the chicken, I'm going to get that boiling, and then I'm going to wash my vegetables and chop them up and put them in there as well. And then I'm going to add all the ingredients, and I'm going to show you guys the final results. So don't go anywhere. Goodbye. Okay, so I am back. The chicken is boiling. I added the lemongrass powder and the galanga powder. I have my celery and onions all chopped up. That's 2 celery sticks and 1 large yellow onion. The coconut milk goes in later, as does the fish sauce. Have the rest of the vegetables there waiting. Some zucchini, some green beans, some cilantro, and some cabbage. And you know what also I don't have in my pantry? I don't have any mushrooms. I don't have any canned mushrooms or fresh mushrooms for that matter. But you know what? It doesn't matter. We make do with what we have. So I'm going to try to add this in right now. Boom. Boom. Because I only have one hand because the other hand's holding the camera. Get in there. Okay, so got that. Gonna stir that in. Onions and celery. Celery is always important to any soup that you are making. Okay, so I'm going to let that cook for a while. And again, the chicken looks like it's cooking pretty well. It's being completely boiled. I didn't sear it first in a pan. So it has to cook for at least 25 minutes. But you can tell also by the color, as long as it's not pink. But it's already cooked for at least 20 minutes. But we're gonna go longer than that as it cooks. Okay, I'm gonna shut off the camera again. I'm gonna chop up some more vegetables, and then I'll turn the camera back on. And I'll start the rice in a few moments as well. Talk to you soon. Bye. Okay, so I have the green beans chopped up and the cabbage chopped up. What? Green beans and chicken coconut soup, Tom Kha Kai? Yeah, you can put in any vegetable you have. If I had some bell peppers, I would throw those in as well. It doesn't matter what you put in. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to try to hold the camera with one hand, and I'm going to dump in the green beans. Excellent. Green beans in. Now, let's dump in some of this cabbage. Come on now. Get in there. There you go. Okay. Cabbage is in. Let me put that down. Okay, so again, if you're just joining me in the middle of this video, I am making chicken coconut soup. It's a Thai specialty, otherwise known as Tom Kha Kai. And it is going to be delicious. So I'm going to let this boil down a little bit more. I still have to add my zucchini, but zucchini cooks really, really fast. Put some cilantro in there at the end. But you know what I think? I think I'll put some cilantro stems in there now just to get some more flavor going on. And then we're still awaiting the coconut milk and the rest of the goodies. Some fish sauce I'll put in there in just a few more minutes. But just wanted to give you a quick update. So let's let this cabbage and green beans cook down a little bit. This was like, it was a large head of cabbage, but I only used like a quarter of it because, you know, cabbage is, but once this boils down, I might end up putting some more cabbage in. So maybe even a half a head of cabbage once it boils down. We'll see. And I ended up putting in actually 8 cups of water just because I have so much vegetables. I ended up, because I think initially I told you I was just putting in 4 cups of water. But I ended up putting in 8 cups of water. And I only have 2 cans of coconut milk, but that's okay. Some people do the ratio of like 1 can of coconut milk to 1 cup of water. It doesn't matter. I mean, sure, more coconut milk is nice. It makes it a little bit thicker. But you know what? The coconut milk has a ton of calories. So I think 2 cans of coconut milk will suffice. Okay, I'm going to shut off the camera. I'm going to chop up some more vegetables, and I'll be back shortly. Okay, so the Tom Kha Kai is coming along nicely. It has been boiling down. The cabbage and the green beans have been boiling down nicely. So now I'm going to add the zucchini, and I'm going to add the cilantro stems for flavor. The rest of the cilantro is right there. It'll be a garnish when I'm finished. But I just like to chop up some of the stems for flavor. And the steamed rice is cooking. So the steamed rice is cooking while the soup is nearing its end. The soup is just about finished. Put the rest of those in a moment. The cilantro stems. I'll put the rest of those in a moment when my hands are free when I put down the camera. So I'm just going to mix this in. And now this is only going to cook for about 5 minutes more. So while this is cooking, I'm going to open up the cans of coconut milk. Add the coconut milk, and then I'm going to add the fish sauce and some chili oil. And I haven't tasted it yet, but I haven't added any salt whatsoever because I need to seriously reduce my sodium intake. So I haven't added any salt. I haven't been adding any added salt to anything lately. But as we all know, fish sauce has a ton of sodium. So I'm thinking this fish sauce will suffice as far as the flavor goes. Hopefully I won't have to add any salt whatsoever. One of my neighbors popped in a few minutes ago, unexpectedly, so I invited him to come back and have some Tom Kha Kai a little bit later. So anyways, that's the fun part about cooking. You never know who's going to stop by. And that's why I always make a ton. Look, that pot is full, and I'm making a ton of steamed rice. And the pot's going to be even fuller when I add the coconut milk. I come from a very large family, and my mom always cooked huge, large meals so that there would be leftovers. And let's face it, the next day the soup will taste even better as it sits overnight. Okay, I'm going to shut off the camera, going to add in the coconut milk, and let this cook for about 3 more minutes. And we'll be right back. Okay, so the soup has boiled down enough. So now we're going to add the coconut milk. Now, like I said at the top of the show, you can really add any kind of coconut milk you want. Just make sure you get a good brand, you know, one that at least has some consistency to it. I'm using Caribbean Joy because it reminds me of the Caribbean. Have you guys been to the Caribbean? Hey, if you've never been to the Caribbean, don't sweat it. What about instead just taking a trip down to the Florida Keys. You'll save a lot of money, and it's super tropical. Okay, so Caribbean Joy, coconut milk. Here we go. I'm a Florida boy. I grew up in Florida. Of course, I live in Los Angeles now, but I vacation in South Beach, Fort Lauderdale, and the Florida Keys every chance I get, because the Florida Keys. Listen, guys, if you've never been to the Florida Keys, you owe it to yourself to take a drive. Don't fly there. Fly into Fort Lauderdale or Miami, rent a car, and drive, because the drive to Key West is part of the fun. I mean, it's so beautiful. You'll see off on each side of the bridge, you'll see this crystal blue and green turquoise water as you're driving down to the Keys. You're just going to love it. So take a trip to the Keys if you get a chance. Tell them Johnny sent you. Okay, so that's 2 cans of coconut milk. Like I said, normally you'd add 1 can of coconut milk to 1 can of water or 1 cup of water, but I did not do that. I did 8 cups of water in 2 cans of coconut milk. It's less calories that way. Okay. This does not have to cook very long. And now we're going to add some fish sauce, because like I said, I didn't add any salt. So I'm just going to do some fish sauce. What would you say that was? Would you say that was like at least 4 tablespoons? Maybe a little bit more? Okay. So maybe that's like 5 or 6 tablespoons. You can always add more, you know, as you're eating it. You can always add, but you can't take away. So never overdo it. And I didn't add any salt to the soup whatsoever, so I'm relying on that fish sauce to give it some flavor. Let me drizzle in some chili oil. Just makes it look nice. Ah, doesn't that look beautiful? Look at that. Look at that. Lovely. Just gives it a nice flavor too on top. So there we have it. I'm just going to let this cook, I would say about 5 more minutes. I've reduced the heat. It's more like a simmer now. I'll let this cook for about 5 more minutes. The rice is cooking. I still have a little bit longer to go on the rice anyways. And a lot of my friends just like to ladle this over the rice. But I like to put the rice in a separate bowl. And put the soup in a separate bowl. And then combine them as I'm eating it. Because I don't want the rice to just absorb up all the liquid. So, gosh, that looks good. And look at all those vegetables. In a Thai restaurant, you're not going to get it with that many vegetables, right? It's going to be a lot more broth in a Thai restaurant. But this is almost like a stew. Again, there's a lot of cabbage in there. There's fresh green beans that I snapped and put in. There is zucchini, cilantro stems. All right. It's looking so good. I should taste it though. Hopefully it's going to taste good. Okay. I'll be back in a moment. Let this cook for about 5 more minutes. And again, there's no mushrooms because, hey, there were none in the pantry and I don't have any fresh mushrooms. And I'm at my desert house and the store is too far away. Okay, I'll be right back. Okay, so the soup is done. What I'm going to do now is squeeze in some fresh lime juice. I cut up 2 limes here. I'm gonna squeeze in some fresh lime juice. And like I said, I don't have any lime leaves, kefir leaves. I believe that's what they're called, kefir leaves, but I call them lime leaves. Hey, 2 limes should do. So I'm squeezing in the lime juice, and this is going to give it that nice sour flavor that only lime and lemon can do. This is a lot of work squeezing in these limes. but I want you guys to see it in real time. So this is something you can cook at home. If you need the recipe, let me know. I'll be glad to give it to you. But it's so good, and it's actually healthy. I mean, yeah, coconut milk does have a lot of calories, but you're adding 2 cans, and it's not like you're going to eat it all in one night. This is a few meals here, right? Because you're pairing it with steamed rice. Okay, so that is the lime. And then what I did was I tore up some cilantro. I don't like the look of that leaf. I'm going to exit that one. So I don't like to chop the cilantro. You certainly can. I just like to gently tear it. And I'm just going to add the cilantro in the top as a garnish. This is going to be, oh, so good. Just get in there. Bam! Do you know when I first moved to California from Florida, I didn't know what cilantro was. Back then in our grocery stores in Florida, we didn't have things like cilantro. So I didn't know what it was. And I remember the brake truck used to come to where I worked at my first job. When I first moved to California, I lived in my car on Venice Beach. But I managed to get a job. So I was living in my car with my dog, and I was working every day, saving my money for an apartment. And the roach coach, the brake truck, would come to my job every day, and I'd get like a breakfast burrito from the roach coach. And there was this funny looking green stuff in the breakfast burrito called cilantro. I didn't know what that was, but I couldn't stand it. I guess it was part of the pico de gallo salsa that they used to put on the breakfast burritos. So I would have to open up my burrito every morning and pick out every last cilantro leaf because I just couldn't stand the taste of it because it was so foreign to me. Now I absolutely love cilantro. So, added the cilantro. Gonna drizzle in some of this on top. A little bit more oil. Now doesn't that look great? Well, while you're here, why don't I just ladle some into a bowl so you can see it. Look at that. All those vegetables. That is nice. Don't want it to drizzle all over the place. See, I'm doing this with one hand because on the tripod you wouldn't be able to get this angle. It's not like this is a professional cooking show where there's multiple cameras. Do you know on those cooking shows they have like overhead cameras? They have cameras everywhere. But you're really seeing this in real time. Oh man, this is going to be good. And the rice is cooked, so I'm going to ladle out, well, scoop out a bowl of steamed rice. And then I'll take my spoon and I'll grab a little bit of steamed rice and then I'll dip it into the soup to get some of this nice flavorful soup. Oh, look at that. A little bit more broth. Oh my gosh. And I tasted it a little while ago and it is delicious. Wow. This is so good. Well, I'm going to get my spoon and start eating this. Okay, so I just scooped out some steaming steamed rice. So like I said, what I like to do is I like to get like a spoonful of rice on there. Normally I'd be doing this at the table, but I'm just doing it for you on camera. Now this is the soup. I'm going to dip it into the soup, get some broth with the steamed rice, and I'm probably going to burn my tongue, but hey, let's try it. Oh man, this is going to be good. Oh my gosh. This is so good. It's so good, folks. Now, sorry about that. Now I wanted to point out that I didn't add any added salt. I didn't shake any white salt into it. I'm just using the flavor from the fish sauce. I didn't even add bouillon, because normally you would add bouillon, either chicken bouillon or vegetarian bouillon. But I didn't add any of that because I need to cut down my sodium intake. And by not adding the salt and just doing the fish sauce, it really brings out the flavor of the soup. It is so much better than I've ever made it before. And I don't even miss the salt because now you can taste all the vegetables, you can taste it all. It's so good, guys. Let me take another little sip. God. Okay, that's it. So, this was Tom Kha Kai chicken coconut soup that you'd get in a Thai restaurant. But I added a whole bunch of vegetables. I wanted to say ad lib, but I didn't ad lib. I knew what I was going to add. I just wish I would have had some mushrooms, but I didn't have any in the pantry, and I'm not going to run to the market to get mushrooms. So it's homemade Tom Kha Kai chicken coconut soup. It is delicious, and it's probably healthier than what you're going to get in a Thai restaurant because I didn't add all of the salt. Well, I've talked enough and I've worked hard making this soup. I think it's time that I sit down at the table and enjoy it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of People, Places, and Good Things. I'm John McQuilkin. I thank you for tuning in. And let me just tell you, this chicken coconut soup, it is a very good thing. Thanks for watching, everyone. I'll see you next time.